Nos encontramos en este momento con el doctor David Omona de la Universidad de Uganda, quien nos visita en el campus de la Universidad Andina Simón Bolívar y quien ha venido a presentar una ponencia en el primer foro andino interdisciplinario de las Ciencias Sociales, las Humanidades y la Educación, que se realizará el día viernes 2 de febrero. Así que vamos a tener una entrevista con el doctor Omona en inglés. Dr. David Omona, very welcome to Ecuador, or very welcome to Universidad Andina Simón Bolívar, and it's a pleasure to have you among us. I know that you have landed many hours ago, like today, yeah, so maybe the city, the altitude, the ambience is new for you. This is your first time in America, especially in South America, and of course in Ecuador, it's your very first time. So let me know how your interest in the European Scientific Institute was held. Why? Are you participating in these events? Have you been an ESI fellow before? Have you been a researcher or contact with some of the work groups of ESI? Please tell us your background.
Yeah, thank you for the question and a warm welcome to Ecuador for the first time. It was a long journey, yes. I missed my first flight, as I told you. But I had to reschedule to the following day, and then I arrived here yesterday. Yeah, my interest in coming here is based on my relationship with ESI. I was a fellow in 2022. I went for my interface in Catania, in Italy. And after leaving Catania, I became an editor of ESI Journal. So I'm on the editorial board of the Journal of Politics, Law, and Education of ESI. Then my university also signed an MOU with ESI to host also postdoctoral candidates. But we have not yet planned to have the postdoc people come to our university. Sometime last year, I got an email from Dejan that there is a conference holding here in Ecuador and also a meeting for the editors. So he sent me a request for papers. So I submitted my abstract. And then I got an invitation to come. When I got the invitation, I told my university management that I've been called here to come and participate in an academic engagement. Because we are partners with ESI, we are also coming to have a meeting on what next. And so they allowed me to come.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful, David. So let's talk about your expertise, international relationships. Tell us about the situation of Uganda in the last 5 years. You mentioned that you have had some, for example, terrorist attacks, right? Could you explain us, especially for Ecuadorians who do not know maybe some of the context in Uganda? So could you explain what has happened in Uganda in the last years?
Yeah, Uganda got independent from Britain in 1962. The first few years, 2 years after independence, was a bit rosy, things were okay. Then thereafter, confusion set in because of power relations. And it made much of the post-colonial era of Uganda to be a bit turbulent. But at least from 1980s, things got settled. But in the 2000s, Uganda got involved in many regional politics, like sending troops to the Democratic Republic of Congo, sending troops to South Sudan, sending troops to Somalia, even sending troops to Africa, other African countries to as peacekeepers. And the troops to Somalia, because Somalia has had no state, it was the effort of Uganda and other East African countries that at least enabled Somalia to have a legitimate government. And then because of that, there are some terror groups from Somalia that usually come to Uganda to cause some mayhem. And the recent attack was a year ago when they came and detonated about 5 bombs in the city, one after another during a hot day. People never expected, and some people ended up being victims. And even before that, there were some other attacks that they had orchestrated in some parts of Kampala, where people were killed, people went to watch soccer, they planted bombs and detonated the bombs, and people died. And of course, as I said, Uganda also had a hand in somehow in DRC. There are some rebel groups that try to contest the state in Uganda who are based in DRC. Occasionally, they cross over and cause some attacks and so forth. And of course, the northern part had a rebellion that lasted for over 20 years. It is the Lord's Resistance Army, led by Joseph Kony, who is now in either Sudan or Central African Republic. That used to occasionally also cause some trouble. But at least for the last 5 years, that group is a bit quiet. Then that aside, we also have pastoralist communities, people who keep animals, especially cows and sheep and goats. They carry out rustling, where a group will go to another group, they steal their cows, and usually there's violence, gun violence, whenever that happens. So that is basically a bit of an unstable situation in Uganda. Of course, politics is contested. Our president has been in office for the last 38 years, and many people are looking at that as an entrenchment of a system where opposition leaders emerge, but the space for them is not granted. More often, there have been arrests and tortures. Like last year, we had the presidential elections in 2021. That was so violent. So last year, they organized a memorial sort of thing in Kenya, where they invited me to go and talk to them, the opposition leaders in Uganda.
Okay, so you have been like a mediator, right?
Yeah,
a mediator according to your expertise and your professional development, right?
Yeah, I went and gave a paper. Then after that, they came around and they were asking, what is it that they should do different? I offered my opinion to them in that regard.
Okay, David, you know that in Ecuador we have suffered a lot of situations of violence right now in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, okay? And it's new for citizens, for inhabitants here. So the national government has declared a war against the narco gangs, yeah? And there has been a lot of terrorist attacks. The national government considers these gangs as terrorists. So right now, to live with terrorists is new for Ecuadorians. So how does people in Uganda face terrorist attack? Not only fighting or struggling against these terrorist gangs, but also the cultural patience of people, trying to recover like the peace. Did you apply some strategies for the population to recover their confidence against these terrorist groups?
Yeah, at times it is very difficult to identify who is a terror, who is not a terror. When I was watching the news the other day, there were some groups, some two gentlemen who played innocent. They went to a church in Turkey. And when they were going, you could not imagine that these were wrong people. But they put hoods in their heads. They walked normally. It was up to when they got inside the church that they got out their guns and then started shooting. You cannot predict who is a terror and who is not a terror. But what happened in Uganda is that people have been made to be conscious, one, of strange faces, and two, of whatever people carry. If you are moving with somebody, you see somebody throwing a bag, you need to alert the security immediately. And if you have seen a strange face that you have never seen and the person is behaving otherwise, you need to be cautious. And even when you are traveling in a vehicle and you have seen a strange person, you need to take some precautions and ensure that you are safe. And of course, there is always alert. And the government kept on giving terror alerts, like the government shares security intelligence with the US security, with the UK security, and so forth. And whenever there is a wind of any possible attack, people are alerted, and people get conscious. Like the university I work for hosts Americans who go there to study for a semester. There are some staff from also America, from Europe, and so forth. And so it became somehow a hot spot for terror attack. And in that case, precautions have been made. Students have been alerted on how to behave when they see a person that they have never seen. And the way the person moves is also monitored, and security is alerted.
Yeah, these situations you could not predict, but you could prevent. Yeah. You have to be prepared for these situations. Yeah, so it's very interesting about this. Well, David, I guess that tomorrow in the Andean Forum you will talk about these international relations, maybe not in this specific situation, but in general, no? How to deal with international situations right now in this world. Well, even though we belong to different continents, we are one world, one promise, one human being. Simón Bolívar, who is our hero here in the Andean region, he mentioned a famous phrase: "We are a little human race. We are a little human genre." So that means that right now we are here in Ecuador, in the equator, and of course we have almost the same problems, and we are working together in the same solutions. David, thank you very much for this interview. So I hope you will enjoy your stay here at Universidad Andina.
Yeah, thank you for the welcome. I nearly never came because of the situation, the crisis that you had here recently. A friend encouraged me, said, now you know these things, you may find the country is big. Something happens in one corner of the country, but people make it as if the whole country is on fire. I kept on reading from literature, listening to BBC and CNN. When I got convinced, I said, okay, confirm my air ticket.
Okay, good. Very welcome back again. Muy bien, muchas gracias y hemos tenido al doctor David Omona de la Universidad de Uganda.